Good day. Welcome to Life Stories. It's a pleasure to share this day with you. We start the day full of enthusiasm. I'm Alys Kim, and I would like to warmly welcome you and thank you for joining us today. We are delighted to welcome an extraordinary guest to our show today, artist and storyteller Naomi Gal. Naomi used her immense talent for hand-drawn art to give faces, names, and voices to the Israeli hostages and their families. Her dedication has resulted in a powerful body of work that has been shown around the world, in galleries, synagogues, and public spaces. More than just art, her drawings have become a source of comfort to the families and a profound tool for raising awareness in communities globally. Through her speaking engagements and exhibits, Naomi shares the stories behind her drawings, stories of courage, loss, and hope, reminding audiences of the profound power of empathy, memory, and unity. Inviting Naomi to an event not only brings her artwork, but also her heart. Her presentations create an emotional connection that leaves audiences deeply moved and inspired to act. Welcome, Naomi. It's a pleasure to have you here in Life Stories. So, Naomi, how are
Thank
you
you.
today?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm actually in Argentina at the moment, so it's a little bit far from home, but like everything I've been doing in the last little while, I feel like it's in the merit and honor of our beloved hostages.
Okay, so Naomi, for our audience, can you explain a bit about your work and your experience?
Sure, sure. So when October 7th happened, just to understand a little bit about who I am, because otherwise I like to see myself as a narrator, someone telling someone else's story, and a good narrator, think about it, isn't so much seen. She's heard when she announces the characters. So this, what I do, and I'll show it to you, this is their stories, and I'm simply the narrator. But I just want to explain to you how did I come to this? So I was not an artist. I'm a mother of six. I'm actually a grandmother. And when October 7th happened, I was sad, but there was nothing I could really do from being a Toronto mom who stayed at home with her kids. But after months of just driving by the hostage posters and kind of feeling like someone else was going to come help them, I felt I had to do something. So I picked up pens because it was something that I kind of did stick figures. It was something I thought I would do, and I thought where the hostage posters end, I'll begin. I'll start drawing their stories. And what happened was I started telling each of their stories in 9 pages, and I would like save the 10th page for the reunion, and I would write reunion drawing here, and their stories would appear in pictures and telling the story of the person. That's how I got started. I didn't actually know anyone who was affected by October 7th. I had been to Israel before. I had family in Israel, but no one that was affected. But then I kind of, as a mother, I felt to myself like I wouldn't be the mother I think I am if I didn't care that another mother was hurting. And I just sat down and I started drawing like as if my life depended on it, because someone's life did depend on it. And I ended up creating 101, well now more, 120 stories that they all go together in this box saying it could have been you. Um, and I think one of the most important tools of storytelling nowadays is an element of not just the words, but visual, like more so than in the past.
So, Naomi, thank you for sharing that with us. So, your artwork it has a very powerful mission to give faces, names, and voices to the Israeli hostages. What was a moment or feeling that inspired you to use your art for this specific critical cause?
Okay. Well, I'll say it's not only Israeli hostages because being held there, just sorry to, is right now at the moment there's a boy from Tanzania and there was Nepal and um, they're from many different nationalities, race, countries. But I guess what made me start is when I started drawing those first few pictures, the reaction that I got on Instagram was families reaching out to me whose loved ones were currently being held hostage and asking me to draw their stories, which felt like a huge honor and something that I wanted to do, that some small way to help. My art can't actually dig its way to Gaza and save anyone, but it can show the mothers and the parents and the siblings and the loved ones you're not alone. And then send them, I would send them their book. This is Joshua. He's from Tanzania. He's currently one of the 13 beloved hostages' bodies still being held in Gaza. So I guess to answer your question, like that's what inspired me. Seeing the reach that you could be sitting in your home in Canada in the kitchen coloring, and your reach can be very far,
So
and it can be
Naomi,
fun.
as you mentioned before, you're not just an artist, you're also a narrator. And when you stand before an audience, what do you hope they take away from your artwork and the stories that you present?
Okay, so I'm always like, I hope they even forget my name. I hope they remember the names, and I hope they know that at one point I was introducing them to 101 hostages. And I like to say that I hope they take away one. I hope they take away that there's one hostage being held 101 times. And right now there's not 13 hostages. There's one hostage held 13 times. So what I want them to take away from the narration and the stories is that there's one person. They're not gonna, no one's gonna be like, oh wow, she learned 101 stories. I want to learn 101. No, but one. Learn that there's one person, that there's one life. And I feel that that's something that all of us can do. So when I speak, I kind of like introduce people to, when I get invited to speak, people give me 5, 10 minutes. How many hostages can I introduce them to? I'd have to be speaking every day for 3 weeks or a month in order to get it out. So my hope is that someone will just learn one person's story, and when I've asked the families, what can I do for you who have experienced this? And they always say, they know their child's story, but share their story with someone else, continue their light.
Okay. So you speak of the power of empathy, memory, and unity. How do you feel that your art brings these three concepts together for people who view your work?
So you're saying unity, memory, and pardon, what was the third?
And empathy.
Well, I hope that unity, one thing is that even though everyone has one book and all of us, me and you, are one person, one soul, when put together, that's what makes the connection, all of us. So that's the unity. And I think that the empathy is that when you read the story, and it's not just a poster, but it's a person, and you hear how the mother was waiting, or you see how the little siblings waiting, I think it calls for empathy. Like, I think it's very hard to visually see someone suffering and turn away from it. So I think it helps. You have a cute cat back there.
Yeah, that's my cat. She likes to jump and stuff. But yeah, returning to the topic, your work is a form of activism and remembrance. How important is it to you that your art serves not just comfort, but also to inspire people to act?
Yes, it is important for me to inspire people to act, but sometimes I feel that I go, this is one thing I would like to say, like people look at me drawing and I draw hours and hours a day and I travel the world sharing the hostage stories. And there's one thing I want people to know is that it's not easy. It's hard. And the answer to that is the inspiring people to act. It doesn't always inspire people to act. Sometimes it only lasts as far as the speech or the moment. So I hope that what I do is one thing that I try and do is act like these are my children. And for what I do for one hostage, I do for all. They've come home now, thankfully. Bip and Joshi, he's from Nepal. He was returned. This is Eitan Horn from Argentina. I've created, like, when I meet people, I hand these out. Like, I hand out ways. Yosef Chaim was brought home. Ways to, wait, you're leaving? Leave with something. Leave with something tangible that we can do. Here, so this project was created to have empathy. Why did I have to start making more and more things? It doesn't make any sense. Wasn't it enough to just have a story? No, wait, here's a candle for Eden. Why did I have to do that? And it's because I felt that it was very short-lived, the empathy. Not for all people. There are people who rally, there are people who are nonstop advocating for our beloved hostages, but there are people like me for the first few months who said, what can I do? That's sad. And just feeling sad is not going to motivate someone to do something. So these things have helped carry that empathy forward.
So, Naomi, you have mentioned how these details help you create that sense and for wanting to make people want to move forward. And you're basically creating a visual way of seeing history. How do you decide which details to include in a drawing to best capture a person's essence and their story?
Okay, wow. It's a very good question. Is it okay when I show you things? Because I want to show you that this is a book that captures, because it'll answer your question, every single face that we lost at Nova. So it's 411 faces. So what best captures it is, I'll tell you, is that even though this should be such a sad book, when I'm drawing it, and I won't draw a person without learning about them. I'm not just drawing a face, I'm drawing a soul. So I'm drawing someone who had an impact in this world, someone who was loved and missed dearly. So I draw and I really learn about the person. And I always find, even if the person was brutally murdered or their story is so tragic, I always find myself smiling when I'm drawing them because I'll know more about them. I've learned about them, and I smile when I draw their lips into a smile, and I smile when I draw them with their family. And that to me is amazing. And as you've seen, a lot of our beloved hostages have come home, have returned, and drawing those reunion pages where you see the families greeting them. I think a picture's worth a thousand words. Those are just thousands of sighs of relief and happiness. So I think I capture those moments simply by really learning who I'm drawing about and how they must feel. The mothers getting their kids back, the children coming home, or even the soul that's departed. How did that soul leave its mark?
So, Naomi, in what ways do you see your artwork helping to keep the memory and humanity of these hostages and to present them in public, to present them in the presentations that you do?
So I actually had the first order of books going to the University of Toronto, which I hope is amazing because they got every single book of our beloved hostages. And the way I see it continuing is like this. The hostages that have come home, it's their life story. I narrated it for them when they did not have a voice, amongst other people. Tons of people were fighting for them, not just me. And that's their life story. But what happens, what happens to those whose souls ascend? What happens to their life story? So that's where I see myself continuing history. It's those stories that need to be told. When we say never again, and it happened now, those stories, those people don't get to continue their stories. Their reunion drawing is filled in with a picture of me drawing their soul ascending. So we need to share their stories. And that's where I see myself in history having a place is I think that Holocaust museums, synagogues, universities, schools, they can have these books because it's a learning tool. There's 101 books. Let's look. This one has reunion drawing here with the families meeting. This one has reunion drawing here with the souls ascending. Wait, there's 13 books. They say reunion drawing here, and there's nothing there. What do we draw in? Tell me what to draw. So it's a learning tool. It's history, and it's to me it's also a project of love for another human being as though it was our own family because it could have been us. And I also take words like when I drew Yarden Bibas's story, he spoke at the funeral at his wife and two young children, Ariel and Kvir's funeral. And I took every single word he wrote and I wrote it down. And it's easy to read it. And it should be read. He said it once and he doesn't need to walk around saying it again, but we need to know the story. Oh, we need to know this story. And we need to know each and every person's story.
Thank you, Naomi. Your drawings have been displayed all over the world in galleries, in synagogues, and in public spaces. And what has it been to you to witness the global impact that your art has had and how people are starting to realize the importance of your cause?
Humbling because I feel that it's all in their merit and honor. Like think about it. If you go back to years ago, I like to show people like my beginning art was stick figure. So I got better in their merit and their honor. So it's humbling and also I like to say it's and I want people to know that it's all in their honor, but it is strange going around and seeing my work. It's surreal in Israel, I'm part of a project called Windows of Hope, which the most amazing artists are part of it, and we each got to draw four of our beloved hostages. This is back in February 2024, and I started in February 2024. And I found it so odd that they asked me to be part of this amazing group of multi-talented artists. And then it was like almost as if, like a premonition that I was going to continue to the end, because really they were just asking like some random woman who had drawn a bit and they gave me four hostages to draw, who were Daniela, Gilboa, who came back, Agam, who came back, Ohad Yeholomi, whose soul ascended, and The last hostages that I had drawn was Omri Miran, who thankfully returned to his wife, Lisha, and daughters.
Thank you, Naomi. That was beautiful. Multiple people and artists, but also regular people, are usually a bit afraid to act on such a cause. And but how would you give a piece of advice to someone like this who feels compelled to use their talent for a social or humanitarian cause?
I would say what I always say to my children is that at the end of our time here, because no one here is here forever, there'll always be the question like, what did you do during this time? Or, what did you do during university? Or what did the person do during like a certain time in history? And what did you do when there were people suffering and we knew it because it was being live streamed? So I believe that whatever talent you have, use for that because it'll help us answer the question that's coming. Like history kind of it's traveling fast, but it ends up asking us a question of where were we? People say it all the time. Where were you at 9/11? Where were you when this happened? Or, so where were we? So I think that anyone who has a talent, and everyone has a talent, because I did not have a talent. Everyone has something they can do, and not to be scared of the people that, like, let's say, sort of. I don't want to use the word hate, but like, disagree with what I'm saying or what our voices are saying to call for the release of every single hostage until the last hostage. I think that smiling and sharing a story and talking it out helps more. This It's a saying, the pen is mightier than the sword. Like we could talk it through.
So, when you look at your collective body of work, what does it teach you about the human spirit in the face of such extreme adversity with everything that's happening?
Ooh. I want to stay positive, but it does teach me that there's a lot of pain, but a lot of faith too. Um, it teaches me you just keep going and you'll get there also because my collection of work now is numbers in the probably tens of thousands of images. It's painful. There's a lot of pain because of the subject that we're talking about, October 7th. There's a lot that I've had to do that's hard as an artist, as a mother, as a human being, which is that I've drawn like a beautiful girl, and then I have to take a red pen and kind of just and I feel like I'm hurting her. Like I look at my hand sometimes and I'm surprised that I'm only holding a pen and not a knife because it's so vicious what I've had to draw. But so I have there's a lot of that. But then there's the goodness, which is you see the hostages coming out and their hope for the future and the families that did not lose hope. And I didn't lose hope. I knew they were coming home, and they did. I never imagined they wouldn't come home. And I believe the 13 will return too.
So, Naomi, your presentation, while sometimes it has to encapsulate the difficulties of the current situation, sometimes it is able to capture the hope and the joy that people have when these hostages are returned. How do you find the highlight of this hope in a situation that is so rooted in profound loss and pain?
Because there's always hope. Like I'm the grandchild of four Holocaust survivors, and I asked my grandmother how she held out onto hope in Auschwitz, and she told me we were hungry, but we were not stupid. I like that line. Like she knew that hope was around the corner, and because she walked out of Auschwitz, I'm here, you know? So I'm telling you, I never lost hope. I was like, socially, even in my circles, I'm sure people were like, she's nuts. Because I'd always make sure to draw in a Starbucks so that people would be engaged. And my entire house was always filled with pens uncapped and coloring and engaging people. If I was sat in a Starbucks and I'm like, do you want to hear about the hostages? No one would want to talk to me, but I would make jokes and I used to be a stand-up comedian, make jokes and laugh and engage people. So I never let go of hope. And you know what? It's not even right for anyone to let go of hope because if they're not letting go of hope, the people suffering, and if the mothers aren't letting go of hope, then how dare we? So I held on to that hope constantly. I was always like, they're coming home, they're coming home. I think when people turn to me and they're like, are you watching the videos? They're coming home. It was like almost like a deja vu feeling. It was so horrible how long it was, but of course they were coming home. We don't give up hope for someone else. Do you know what I mean? There's a saying in the Torah even, if the sword is on your neck, the sword is on your neck, you still don't give up hope. You still believe that God could save you. And God has no shorthand. So for me, as a religious Jew, I believe that God could save them on the first day, 200th day, 757th day. It's all the same. To God, it's to us that the pain and the weight has a time.
Naomi, this project is a very challenging project. Not only the creative aspect, but also it is a very emotionally heavy project, having to learn about so many hostage situations, and while some end up in joyful, sometimes it might not. For you, what has been what has been the most difficult part about this project, whether that be the emotional load, the creative aspects, or even just the logistical aspects?
I think the most painful part of it is trying to get them more airtime. Like, I think sometimes for me, um, I know someone's like, for instance, Guy and Eviatar, thank God they're out, but they were taken to see their friends being released. And I drew it. I drew the pain of them. I could see it in their face and eyes. We saw their friends being released, and then they were put back into captivity. And I would try and show the world. I would say, wait, do you think that that video that the terror organization released of them see a video of themselves? It was for us, the whole world to see. So we need to speak up. So I think what was very hard for me is when I was doing that, I was met with a lot of resistance. I was met with a lot of people who were like, they're not coming out. It's like you're in Canada, like let's go. So that hurt. Even just as a simple narrator, trying to share a story that hurt. But it wasn't. That was the hardest part. I'm not saying that was always, but when that happened, of course that hurt. I just wanted to share the story, and it happened more. It did happen. People were like, "It's been 2 years. Like, can we talk about something else?"
So, Naomi, you have your presentations create a deep emotional connection. For you, what has been the process to prepare for you to speak on the stories, but also so effectively? Has your past career, as you mentioned, in stand-up comedy, have helped you in some way?
Yeah, definitely. Because like everyone likes a funny speech. I know, like I always say that, and the true story is like my brother told me once, he said, I hope no one's looking for the hostages based on how you draw them, because then they'll never find them. And I try and bring comedy in, and to the families who have lost loved ones that I know, if any of them are watching this, they would agree, is I make them laugh, even in the hardest moments, because I try and see the humor in things, and our returned hostages are heroes in that same way. They come out smiling and joking, and of course there are moments when they're not, and it's not even for us to know. But I think when I go to stage on stage, I would say I'm more funny than sad because no one's gonna come back if no one wants like it has to be kept light, and that's who we are. Like that's who the Jewish people are. We're comedians, we're funny, we're empathetic, and we know how to sell a product. Not that it's the product, but so like I said, when someone invites me to go somewhere to speak, I use the comedic stories of the situations I get into being the narrator because they're always funny.
Naomi, when you do you ever worry that your art as a has will ever be interpreted as a political cause rather than a humanitarian one? And when you have such a good cause, people are going to sometimes have a different opinion. How do you navigate that complexity?
So I try to answer every message that's sent to me, mainly because if the whole world was created for one person, which I believe, and I'm fighting for one person in Gaza, then if someone sends me a message, they're just as important, so I answer them. But that gets me to this. But when someone sends me hate messages, I make a point of answering them, of really saying to them, I want to like hear your, I want to hear your side. I am worried. There was one point where I got more political, let's say, and I don't see myself as a political person. I see myself as a people person, one person at a time, making connections. But I did write Charlie Kirk's life story, and I published it, and I just self-published it, and it got a lot of hate, and it was it was hard for me because I was being seen as a political activist. I think time will tell. Right now, time will prove and time will tell to people who are judging me as a political activist that no, she was a mother. She was someone who loved her neighbor like herself. She was someone who was trying. I don't think I don't think politics can define me personally. Some people can, and I'm saying that from Argentina, where I came to help President Javier Milei with his election, help when I say help, I created for him things because I wanted to have something called the Hakarat Tov, which is giving gratitude, and he helped me spread the messages of our beloved hostages, and there were Argentinian ones. There's one still there. So I wanted to say thank you. So I came and created that for him. So again, I could seem political, but I think right now we're looking at Naomi Gal during October 7th and during this political time. But when you see me, my life in the long view, I hope to not be seen as someone political. I hope to be remembered as a mother and as a friend more than anything else.
Naomi, your work is incredible. You have done so much for these hostages and bringing awareness. Has there been a specific tradition or even just another artist that influenced the use your art? Or has this been something that you have been adapting as you go?
I'm self-taught, but friends, I've found so many along the way, friends that are like sisters. One of them, Elisabetta Frucht, she also draws every day, a watercolor for our beloved hostages. There's a young boy named Yuval, Yuvik draws. He is incredible. He draws. And just across the board, I've met other artists who are doing what I'm doing, who I learned so much from them and their dedication and devotion and their relentless pursuit of keeping our beloved hostages in their mind. Listen, I might have spent 20 hours a day and sleep with pens in my bed, but I gained so much more than I can ever give from this project because of the people I've met, and that the fact that I believe that God is close to the brokenhearted, and I've held and been close to lots of people with broken hearts. And that's a merit and an honor that's just really incredible for me. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that I I have six kids and I have a grandchild and I have a husband and they let me leave them and travel the world and advocate for others. And I've asked my 10-year-old daughter, she was 9 when I asked her, I said, don't you mind that you have to see like a gum bleeding here on the table? And don't you mind that I leave you and I go? And aren't you scared? And I was asking her that, and she said, no, I'd be more scared and more sad if my mother wasn't fighting because she knows that we're fighting for them. It would be scarier if we weren't.
And Naomi, you have exhibited your work in various communities, and the audiences. Has there been a response from an audience that surprised you in a way since you began sharing your work?
A surprising reaction, you mean? I think one of the surprising reactions was actually from one of the hostages' family members who came to one of the events and just they were very blown away that I didn't know their child. They thought that I had created it all because I had known their child. Um, so that was like they were just very surprised. They were just trying to figure out how I knew their child. Um, but I just said I'm a mother, you know. Um, so that was a surprising. Anything else? Surprising events? No, I don't know. Yeah, well, you know what I like to do at events is I go to events where I'm just a guest and I'll draw the what's unfolding on stage live, and then I'll give it to the performer when they come out, and they're always so shocked because it was like 5 minutes before, so they'll like see themselves on stage. I like to do that a lot. I like to do that on airplanes, and it because I draw so much, I got faster. So I could actually be walking onto an airplane. I take a picture of the person sitting, let's say, in the first seat, go to the back of the plane, and before takeoff, I pass the picture up to the person sitting at the front. And those things make me happy because it's like instant bringing a smile to someone's face. They're like, "What?"
Naomi, you had mentioned a bit before that your work as a stand-up comedian helped to engage audiences because sometimes people want to learn about new topics in a way that's more funny, a bit more lighthearted, even if the situation is quite sad. Do you feel that any of your past experiences across your life has influenced the way that you do art and the way that you present yourself?
In comedy, yes, but in loss also. I don't like to say the word lost because I know where my sister is. She's in another world. But I did experience that loss of my sister. She was 4 years older than me, and she died. She passed away from cancer after battling it for 9 years. So it kind of I understand that grief and the tentacles of it, like how far-reaching it is. But I also understand like the different stages of it and when to speak and when to not speak around people who are experiencing loss. I forgive if I ask forgiveness if I ever don't do it right. So I think that shaped me. And just growing up with eight brothers and sisters made me be able to laugh at pretty much anything. So I guess those two things, experiencing a profound loss at a young age and being a gal, which means everything to me, having this childhood that I was blessed with where my family laughed through even the hardest moments.
So, Naomi, returning to your very beginning of the story when you were mentioning how about a couple months had passed from October 7th, and you were wondering how you could help. For any individual who feels right now moved by your work but unsure how to help, what is a piece of advice or an action that they can take right now?
Well, right now there's currently 13 hostages being held. So I would say they could reach out to me on Instagram. I like mail people stuff that they could actually use, but even if not PDF, they could learn about one of the 13 hostages. They could repost their stories so that their families see it and it's like a virtual hug. They could bring comfort to the families that are waiting, which is a big thing. It takes away a bit of their pain to not feel alone. And they should know that if I, at 46 years old, just started to get this new talent that opened up a whole new world for me, then I believe each and every person listening can do that too. Can can start something, committed to it, really just plow through and stay committed, and they could bring something new that they didn't even know they had, and then share it because that's what we're here for, to share what we have with others. And in line with the hostages, please, I would ask them to really keep each of them in their mind, each of the 13 beloved hostages that need to come home, their families, and for the ones that came home for their recovery, and just for a peaceful, kinder way to react, to enact with other people, interact with other people.
So, beyond your current focus, which is to give these people a voice when they do not have one, in the future, where we're hoping and we're waiting for all hostages to be released, how do you see your legacy of this artwork evolving in the future?
I'm really hoping to find someone who, right now I'm self-published, so I print and publish everything alone. I'm hoping that I find someone who wants to partner with me, an organization, so that the books can go out easier to schools and organizations. Because right now, because it's not cost effective to do one at a time, which I'm doing, right? So I hope that way, and it's a legacy. And then I always say, stay tuned, because I'm going to be doing something very fun and light. I'm ready for that. And again, it'll always be in the merit and honor of our beloved hostages who gave me this talent. But yes, I I think that this chapter will be tied with a bow, hopefully a yellow ribbon, so to speak. And I see these boxes in schools, but I personally am going to try and do something joyous with my art.
So, returning to the topic of your art and more so the creation of it, you use traditional hand-drawn art. What does this medium offer to you to your mission that perhaps a digital medium might not? Do you feel it just helps you connect more with the art, or that just the hand cramps that you might get from pushing on the pen too hard, that in a way it adds a bit more to the essence of the person that you're drawing.
Yeah, you said it beautifully. You said it beautifully because I've actually tried drawing on an iPad and it felt too commercial. And what you said was beautiful because like I use pencil and pen and actually will not use an eraser. And if I make a mistake, I can somehow correct it just by coloring on top of it, almost like it's paint. And really, I think I have to steal the line you said, which is it just like really connects. It connects me just to who I'm drawing, being pencil and pen, being very it's very committed to the space because there's not a back button on the iPad or just like change this or I can copy. Like when I draw scenes with hundreds of people in the background, I if I was on an iPad, I could do like copy paste, copy paste. And when I do hundreds of people in a scene, I only do the first few rows, their actual faces, and it's cute because like sometimes someone will say like, "Oh, that's me," like they see themselves in the first few rows. So I wouldn't be able to do that on an iPad. I mean, I definitely have more time for other things because I think I draw endlessly, but it's real.
So, Naomi, your project not only includes a very heavy emotional load, having basically wanting to learn about all these hostages and their situations, but also it's a physical load. So, for you as an artist, what does that reality look for you?
You mean the physical pain of carrying pain that's not mine?
It could be that, or just what does it when people see your art, they might only see the superficial aspect, but for you, what does it look like? Does it look uh how do you keep that connection to your art?
Well, I try and keep in touch with with who would like to keep in touch with me, but it's heavy. Like I'm actually in the middle of writing a book called because all my books say like this is like that's how I do it. This is Sahar. This is Joshua. Um, and I'm actually writing my own story called This is the Narrator. And it's about what it meant. Like, what is that you carry someone else's pain? It's not yours. You can put it down at any time. What does that feel like? So, if you mean that load, what does that feel like? It's not only coming to Argentina with 7 suitcases because paper is so heavy. It's actually the heavy load of knowing every beloved hostage like the back of my hand, knowing their birthdays, knowing their families, knowing their younger siblings, and like I said, the tentacles of grief, knowing so much. What does that feel like? And that goes back to what I said in the beginning, which is that, or in the middle, which is that I do want the world to know this wasn't easy. I want the world to know that I had trouble sleeping after it. Like it was hard. Like I had to speak it through. So, but I do think you could see that in art. I think that if someone were to pick up a book and know that there's 400, someone drew 411 faces, and I'm currently drawing all the soldiers that passed away, and they look at it, I think they can see, I hope they could see the person that was there, that is still there, their light that's still shining. Um, but when you ask, what does it feel like? It feels heavy. It is heavy. And that's why I would never have stopped a day earlier, and I'm not stopping until each beloved hostage is home, but I am ready for something that is truly, truly happy. And I always say to the world, stay tuned, because like whatever passion I'm gonna put into it, it's gonna be good, happy, good.
Naomi, also, you mentioned how you get to know each hostage as if they were your own child, as if they were your own friend. How do you manage to fit all this passion and all of the spirit in a page? For me, for writers, sometimes it's even difficult to be able to put this feeling into words. But how do you manage to do this with colors, with a pen, and with a pencil?
Well, the books have 9 pages, but yeah, I think I would say with with an undeserved confidence that I do manage on one page to do it. It's an undeserved gift that I didn't have a year and a half ago, so I can't explain it. But but I do feel that I don't need words. Sometimes a word or two is art on its own. But I don't have the answer to that because it seems so crazy that I'm even here speaking to you. I'm so blessed. I didn't have this life before. Also, I want to note that I always start every day. I always write the sentence from Pirkei Avot that says it's not up to you to finish the job, but nor are you free to not start it. And it's a reminder to myself when I write it that the job in the beginning it was like hundreds. Like when it took me 11 months to write everyone's story. It's like how would I be finished? And I said, no, it's not up to me. I just need to start. And then I liken it to now the project's done and to the next person, like take that quote and is it possible for you to put this in your home? Can you put this in your synagogue? And that would be the continuation of my artwork, like of my heart work, is it, it to continue on so that the stories are
Naomi,
known.
thank you. Your work has been displayed pretty much in synagogues and people's homes.
Churches, yeah.
For you,
Mhm.
yeah, churches too. So for you, when you see this and you see how people are becoming more passionate, how do you feel? Do you feel proud? Do you feel that you are finally bringing light to these hostages and to their stories? Because often, for me, this is something that happens when you see numbers, you're like, okay, that's bad. We should probably fix that. But when you see faces, when you get to know their stories, your perspective in a way changes them because you give a face to that number. For you, how has it been to see the reaction of people to be able to make that change from seeing them as a number from a demographic to see them as people?
I think it's been amazing. Like every time I get invited somewhere, I'm so grateful that there's someone at the other side of, like now, there's someone at the other side of the screen, you know? Alice is kind enough to interview me that now spreads it further. And when I go to a synagogue or to school or to high school and I go to speak, I think, wow, like I get to speak to one plus one plus one plus one plus one person. And that makes such a difference. So I guess it feels amazing, but it's a bored feeling in the sense like I just always want to say it's their stories and I'm the narrator. But yeah, it does feel amazing that we're reaching more people. A lot of people, I should tell you, oh, these stories always happen to me. Um, I was in the hospital, I had kidney stones, like to keep it fun. And the doctor that was helping me, his last name was Joshi, and he was from the same city as Bipin, the same country as Bipin Joshi, and he didn't know that there was even a hostage. And that's the second time it happened to me with Bipin Joshi. Another time I had a keychain on my back, and the guy behind me in the airport said, "What is that?" I showed it to him, and he said, "Oh, my last name is Joshi. I'm also from that city." So the one plus one plus one makes such a difference because I introduced them to a beloved hostage, and for sure they're going to go home and introduce. He's going to say, "Wow, that's so weird. I had a patient today who gave me this book and gave me this keychain and so it's incredible. That feeling is incredible because it's making the world. We ask God to give us a little bit more understanding of the world, to just open it up a little bit wider so we can see, so we can understand. And I think that when one plus one, when it spreads like that, it's to me, it's amazing. Their stories
Naomi,
being shared.
Naomi, for you and your whole career now as an artist, has there been a point which was like practically a turning point, as you describe it, that God basically gave you that ability to basically see a bit more, to be able to understand more, and which made you want to act? Or has this just been something that has been gradual and not something that happens practically overnight?
No, no, you mean like what changed in February that made me decide, okay, I got to start? Is that what you mean? Well, I always liken it to like when you go to, let's say you're on your way to work and you see a car accident and like you kind of hear the ambulance and the fire department in your head. So you go to work. But what happens when you come home from work and the car is flipped on the back and people are still calling out for help? Like, how long would it take a person to get out and help? So for me, that's what I liken it to. It's like it took me 4 months of thinking someone's coming, and then no, I got out and I helped. Um, so that was like the change in being like, because on the street that I drive on in Bathurst in Toronto, it's tons of traffic, and there were hostage posters, and I just had to pass them all the time, and I was like, okay, you're still there, but someone's coming, and then I was like, but remember, I don't believe my art can actually save anyone, but if it could bring comfort for a minute to the families, that's a big thing, because we as Jewish people and as as humankind we after a person passes away there's a wake, there's a shiva, there's some way to go to comfort. And why do we go comfort people? Why do people comfort others? It's to take a little bit of their pain. When we go to visit someone in the hospital, what are we doing? We're showing them we're there, we're taking a little bit. So I'm not a fool. My art can't save anyone, but my art can show others, and someone else sharing my art or sharing the stories can show others. You're not alone. We're all here. We're with you.
Okay, I don't think you could have put it in bare words. For you, has there been any conversations that you had with someone at your events or even through social media that really pushed you and wanted you to continue going? Because sometimes you do really just need that push. Has there been a conversation like that that has impulsed you?
I think it's been my children because they give up the most um, with me leaving them and coming here and doing that. And it's been my children because they always say, like, keep going, keep going. Like, I don't think, I think it's from inside. I think my validation can't come from outside because social media is social media. You can't always see what's behind it. But my children and my family, being okay with having less of me. Because the same way I love our beloved hostages and I put my heart into everything, I was that type of mother. And now I'm a mediocre mother and a pretty bad grandmother. So I think it's my children. My children reminding me all the time. They're like, no, you have to do this. Like, so it comes from real life. I don't think Instagram can do it because I'm aware that, like I personally don't have so many followers. I have millions and millions of views, and it doesn't translate into followers. Um, it's not Instagram to me. It's a nice platform, and we're using it, and it's helping me with what I'm doing. But the reality is the children and the that I have at home, and they help me every day by reminding me that no, you can go out, you'll be back. You can go, you can go. It's not easy
So
for them. Like I'm not there to.
So, Naomi, you mentioned a while ago that you really wanted to get the hostages that are still in Gaza. Do you wanted to get them some more airtime? So, are you willing to share some of their stories for our audience?
Yeah, for sure. So I have actually with me. I always carry them with me. Like so this is Omer Nutra. He's currently being held hostage. He's an American citizen. I'm gonna open up his book and show you, but this is Itai Khan, American, also American and Israeli, being held hostage. This is Dror. His body's being held hostage. He was like a culinary genius. His wife was actually killed, murdered that day. Um, you could see like look at him. I don't know if you could see like the way he cooked and how incredible he was. And then this is Joshua. He's from Tanzania. They showed us on real time him being murdered, and his father came to Israel to wait for him. And now they know they're holding his body, but they would love for him to have a dignified burial. This is this is Ran. Ran's story is he was waiting for shoulder surgery. He didn't need to run on October 7th. He was a border a police officer, but he ran towards the terror and he was taken captive. Um, here is one of the last pictures that they have of him on October 7th and his mother fighting for him. Ren, Israel says that, and it says reunion drawing here, Israel says that they're holding his body, but for the families I've spoken to, they say until they see the body return, they hold on to the hope that it could be wrong, that Itai Chen, just 19 years old, um, with a dog named Gucci who he loves, he could be alive. Like, so the families, like they waver between, here's him with Gucci, they waver between this hope. Um, this is Sahar Baruch. He was killed in captivity. They shaved his beautiful hair, and he was killed in captivity. And his brother he went back into the house to get like an asthma puffer for his brother. His brother was murdered. His grandmother was murdered with an axe. Yeah, he loved the outdoors. There's a picture that means a lot. I want to show it to you in Sahar's book. His brother Niv was in a camp in Canada, and they asked him to talk about his brothers and his grandmother who were murdered. And most people, when they get up and talk, they hold one side of the person that was murdered, or they hold two. But this young boy, Niv, he had to hold three to talk about Idan, his brother Sahar, who's still a captive, and his grandmother. And this is where I say we come in. How could this young boy stand up and hold three? I'll tell you how. Someone from the audience had to come and hold one while he held two. And that shows that we can hold them in our hearts. That that is. I mean, Oz Daniel, such a sweet boy. I always think about he loved music. He always had this guitar. His parents, he has one sister. He was really brave. He was taken alive and he tried to get a grenade. He was taken alive. We see him taken. He fought back with like a grenade. Oh yeah, with a grenade. He fought back with a grenade, and then they killed him. Like he found the grenade to try and save his life. And here we're waiting for him to return with his reunion drawing here. And here's Hadar Golden. He's been there for 11 years. 11 years. His family has been waiting to give him a proper burial. And he's slated to come home. The deal was that everyone, Hadar is a twin brother. He was engaged. Um, and here his parents fighting for him. He was an artist. He was an incredible artist. I drew his art. And now we're waiting for him to come home. So these are our, many Goddard is still there now. We're waiting for him to come home. Here he is with his wife. And like he fought even on the Yom Kippur War. Um, Showing his story. Wait, I'm seeing if I have anyone else. I always have. I carry them around with me and I give them out to people because what good do they do if they're just here in my house? It's not- I create also whenever like this is something that people know as my work. It's 101 of our beloved hostages because when Trump made time of the year, I wanted to do missing persons of the year. And I make sure that wherever we go, I give something to people. I put it in this bag called We Hold the Hope, and it's us holding the hope and being able to break free from it. If we keep the hope alive, change can happen.
So
And
we turn,
who are we to not hope?
yeah. So I want to tie this back to hope. And for some people, when you listen to the stories, it's so hard to not only acknowledge the stories, but also to really want to keep advocating because you see so much damage and it takes a lot of resilience to be hopeful. But what would you say to these people who are starting to lose hope, who are not seeing the maybe the results that they want to see? What would you say to them?
Never lose. I would just say never lose hope. There has to be like, even if it's something unbelievable and it seems so hard and crazy magical, or what are you nuts to not lose hope? But we never lose hope. I mean, we see it because people walked out of Auschwitz. We saw them coming home from Gaza. You see people make turnarounds with when they're not feeling well. So we don't lose hope. But this isn't even our own personal lives. We can't lose hope for someone else because then that's the opposite. I think it's the opposite of empathy, right? Like, so, so just I would say it doesn't matter if it seems senseless. Hold on to the hope because just the fact of holding on to that hope is good enough. And I think they feel it. The hostages have come back and said that they felt at times being prayed for, being held in people's heart. Um, I think the world I think the world um, has that domino effect. So just hold on to the hope. Even if people are saying you're silly for holding on to the hope, just hold on to it with two hands and all your heart.
Naomi, also, what is your process to learning about these hostages? You had described before about how you see them as your children or as a very close friend, but now that you have told some of their stories, I can truly see what do you mean because you talk about them as you had known them personally, as that you had met up for coffee with them a couple of weeks ago. How do you know so much about them? How do you keep in touch with their family members? What is your whole process about this?
I do keep in touch with their family members, but I won't post that part because I don't believe in making someone stand on my platform who's like it's I'm a narrator, so that's to say that. But I guess I know a lot about their lives because in the beginning, please remember the first few stories that I wrote, I didn't know them. But then the family's cousins, sometimes siblings, would ask me to write their stories, so I was finding it in a more personal level. And I guess because what I do for one, I do for all, meaning if I'm when I'm making a keychain for someone here, I just found because before I showed you keychains of returned hostages. This is Itay Khan. We're waiting for him to come home. So what I would do for one, I would do for another. So I had to kind of like learn about them, um, and and I wasn't learning about recipes or travels. I was learning about people. So even though I don't think of myself as someone with such a great memory, um, it's easier when it's a person because you're learning about a life and you're getting something back. You're getting the gift of who they were. You're learning something from them. You're becoming a better person from stories you learned from them. So it's easier to remember and to know them. Like I think of Omer Nutra. I had just gone quickly through his book, but I showed it to you, but I didn't stop. He's the other American that's being held hostage for like his circle of friends who have embraced me because everyone was his friend. Everyone felt that they were his best friend. And I learned from Omer a lot of how to be, not only from Omer, from Daniel, who fought for Omer, for his brother, who's fighting for him, from Yasmin, from the cousin, from the parents. I learned how what an amazing cousin he was. So remembering them and knowing their story is easy because I've gained from them. I've gained. Omer was like the classic counselor. Everyone loved him. He spoke about his bar mitzvah, about Israel being like his girlfriend, like because he loved her so much. Um, and he went and he volunteered. An all-American boy, loved sports, and he went and he volunteered. So you see, I'm speaking about Omer and I'm smiling because I've gained a lot from Omer. I hope Omer looks down and thinks like, wow, I've made these connections because I think about his friend Dana that I'm friends with, his cousin Yasmin that I'm friends with, and how blessed am I to know a boy like Omer, a hero, an American hero who went to Israel and now needs to come home, but went to protect. He was a cool kid.
Naomi, if you could, has there been a particular story that you could share with us that really just pushed you to keep going to maybe a family member who reached out and to sincerely thank you for your work, or really any experience that really just made your work feel that those nights that you spent drawing or those hours that you spent learning about these people to really feel like everything was worth it.
So I'm thinking of like which family I wouldn't mind sharing a story with because I do have a lot of those stories. I don't particularly share them. Like you can't go onto my Instagram page and know that I'm close with the family. So I'm just thinking um, of a story that I can share. Sorry. Um, well, I know that. Okay, so I met Yagev and Rimon. They were two hostages that were taken, and um, one Rimon was returned in the beginning, and one of the cousins of Yagev reached out to me, I think a niece, and asked me if I could write Yagev's story. She said he's still a captive, and Rimon came home. Can you write their story? So I wrote their story, and it was an incredible story because Yagev was so talented with music. He created music from all different types of things, even from a lime and fixing guitars, and he they would save cats, like I forget the word, like cats that are in homes. You know what's the word when you adopt cats, right? And so when I was learning about Yagev, at one point they told me the story. They said the terrorists even took his guitars into Gaza, and his wife Riman, because she was with him, she turned to him and she said, "Yagev, don't worry. When we come back from Gaza, we'll get you new guitars." And Yegev turned to her and said, no, don't worry. Even if one child in Gaza learns to love music because of my guitar, it would be worth it. So I said, wow. So we know this story because Rimon came home. She was one of the people in November 2023 who came home. And they didn't let her say goodbye to Yegev, but he was very much alive and she ran to him and she hugged him and they pulled her away. And then he was murdered in captivity. And I was in Israel and I was in Hostage Square and I was sitting down and I turned to the woman sitting down next to me and I said, why are you here? Because she was sitting on the stairs like as if the stone could bring her comfort. And she said, my name is Nufar. And I knew right away. I said, are you Yagev's sister? Because I had written about her. And she said, yes. And I said, let me give you Yagev's book. Let me give you Yagev's keychain. And let me draw you. And that's just one story that I could share, but I've had a lot of stories like that where it's just unbelievable the connection ending up um, where it's a closure of sorts. And then what helps me is I go to their graves. Um, Sometimes I'll bring like a picture that I've drawn and I'll put down there. I'll sit with them. It's a closure of sorts, and it's a reason why I hold on to the 13 beloved hostages that need to come home. And I know how important it is for their families to have a place for them to visit. If I, just a simple narrator who've told their stories, need a place to go to feel that closure for them, how much more so must the families need it?
That is incredible. For you, what does it mean to bring this closure to families, to be able to make it into a visual way? For you, what does it mean? Does it gratify you, or does it just take at the end of the day, art is does take a toll on you. For you, what does this imply, bringing their stories to life?
Well, giving it to them, I try and take myself out of the equation. Like I don't, I only recently started signing my name on stuff because it's their story, right? Like I try and really see it as the narrator. Um, to the families who know who know me well and keep in touch, then it means the start of a relationship. Because when I started, I would say when I had to write the stories to the families that didn't reach out to me, I would say, "Hi, what's your name?" And the person would say, "Let's say I'm Liam, like I'm sister," or like I'm just thinking of names. I'm Orna, Omer's mother, or whatever people would say, and I would say, "I'm Nomi." And I am not leaving till Agam comes home, and I am not leaving till Omer comes home. So when I do give the families their books and their their the whatever I created for their kids, their candles. To me, that's the start. It's the end of the narrator. It's their child's book if their child came home and I'm there if they need me. But it's the beginning of a relationship where if they ever need me, I will always, always be there to draw for them, for their foundation, for anything that they need. It's my hope to start a non-for-profit so that I could help more. Um, but for now, that handing over of the artwork to the family, to me, it's like the closure of something, but it's a start of hopefully a friendship, a love ship, a place where they know they could always ask me if they need anything. And my whatever small comfort I could bring, I would like to always be there for them.
So Naomi, we have to start wrapping up, but for you, what is the central message that you wish for every listener today to walk away with today regarding the hostages, the families, and the terrible situation that's going on in Gaza?
It's well, firstly, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Alice. Thank you. Um, I want them to walk away knowing that we can't stop. We said until the last hostage, and there's 13 hostages. Hadar Golden, like we said, has been there for 11 years. We can't stop. And that even when everyone's returned, to please remember to take the message to share their stories. There's so many there's so many stories. October 7th had so much tragedy. I think that when we share their stories, we bring them light. We bring them like their soul's light. They hear what their we bring them light, and we bring light to this world to know that we value human life, and we when we share their stories. And just
And
to note, if I said anything, um, if anything said anything that benefited it, it's in honor of our beloved hostages. And if I said anything off, then it's all on me. So
so finally, just for anyone that wishes to look at your work, at your art, and at the stories of these hostages, where could they find this information? And how, if someone wishes you to invite you to a conference to speak on the issue, where could they reach you?
so I have a website. It's penned by naomigal.com. And on Instagram, I'm Naomi Y Gal, like for my middle name, Yal. And my email is my name, Naomi Gal, at gmail.com. And it would be an honor to bring the books, which are the life stories of our beloved hostages, anywhere. I actually travel with a yellow suitcase, so it's like a library on wheels.
So, thank you so much for the incredible message that you have shared with us. Unfortunately, we've reached the end of our interview with the artist and storyteller and narrator Naomi Gal, who joined us today to share this profound, humanizing mission behind her artwork. Thank you so much, Naomi. It's been an absolute
Thank you.
pleasure and honor speaking with us today.
Thank you,
So, well,
Alice.
that
Thank you.
it's my pleasure. You have an incredible mission. I truly do hope that every hostage gets to come back home and that they get a dignified burial if that their soul has ascended. So, well, that's unfortunately all for today. Thank you so much for listening. It has truly been an emotional and enlightening interview with the artist Naomi Gal, and with all of you who continue to show us to support you with your preference. Once again, we would like to give the most a heartfelt thank you to Naomi Gal and wish her strength and success in her continuing on her vital, heartfelt mission. Thank you so much, and this will conclude our episode. Have a happy and blessed day.
Thank you.